Tom Spence, the president and publisher of Regnery Publishing, is joining us now. Mr. Spence, thank you so much for your time.
Thanks for having me.
Simon & Schuster was scheduled to publish The Tyranny of Big Tech by Senator Josh Hawley this spring, but ended that contract, of course, as we all know, in the wake of the assault on the Capitol. You announced on Monday that you would be proud to publish this book. Take us through your thought process in making that decision.
So I followed the events at the Capitol on January 6th, like everybody else. And I was aware that Senator Hawley was one of the senators, along with Senator Cruz, who's also one of our authors, who were, objecting to the certification of the vote. As far as I was aware, they had nothing to do with the mob that assaulted the Capitol. And so the next day, Simon & Schuster announced that they were canceling Senator Hawley's book. They issued a statement that was vague, and I assume intentionally vague. In fact, I was talking to somebody today, I said it's really a masterpiece of vagueness. Suggesting, though, that Senator Hawley bore some responsibility for the attack on the Capitol, which did not seem to be the case to me. And so my colleagues and I thought that this book would make a lot of sense for us. And so we made some inquiries. One of our authors is an old friend of his, was able to reach out, and the negotiations went through the weekend, but it was pretty quick. We think that the book will probably do very well. The book is completely unrelated to the question of the election or the attacks on the Capitol. It's about the incredible power of some of these high-tech, big tech giants. And soon after that, there was a statement put out by a group of self-described publishing professionals directed to the rest of the publishing industry, and saying that no one who had any participation in the Trump administration should be given a book contract under any circumstances. And that struck me and a lot of other people as blacklisting. Ruling somebody out, silencing somebody, not for something he's done, but for just his associations. And I think Senator Hawley was a victim of that. I understand that reasonable people can disagree about his role, certainly about the wisdom of his position on the electoral vote. Lots of people disagree with that. But I think that tarring him with responsibility for that attack, which I don't think he foresaw at all, is not fair. And if that's the case, then canceling his book because he took an unpopular position on the certification of the electoral vote seems to me a case of blacklisting.
Outside of the book, Mr. Spence, what do you say to people who do believe that Hawley did incite violence at the Capitol in his rhetoric and his messaging leading up to the vote on January 6th?
I guess I don't have an argument with anybody on that. I mean, people can interpret the facts for themselves. And whether it's Senator Hawley or the president, a lot of people think that there was some over-the-top rhetoric. Now, in my view, over-the-top rhetoric is unfortunate. I try to avoid it, but it is a daily reality in American politics. And if you're going to apply that standard to the things that Senator Hawley said before the attack, then a lot of other people are going to start losing their book contracts. I think.
Did you have any reservations about publishing the book, or do you carry any responsibility over its potential influence, given the author and the temperature of our climate right now?
I'm sorry, am I worried about his influence in what respect?
I think his influence over thought.
Senator Hawley's influence.
Correct.
Well, I hope he'll have a lot of influence. That's why we're publishing the book. He has a lot of important things to say about big tech, its power, its role, whether anything can be done or should be done to rein in its power. And a lot of people disagree with him on that. A lot of Republicans disagree with him on that. But his arguments are reasonable and they're important. And the events of the past week, apart from Senator Hawley's own case, I think show the incredible power of those companies. They can take down something like Parler. They can silence the President of the United States. It doesn't take many of them acting together to completely silence a public figure or an organization. And I think that all shows the relevance and the importance of what Senator Hawley has written about. So I think it's a book that needs to be published, and we're proud to be the ones publishing it.
Are you concerned at all about criticism and how this could impact your business?
Well, we get criticized all the time. So, and as they say, there's no such thing as bad publicity. But I think nowadays there is such a thing as bad publicity. A lot of people in the conservative publishing community, which is a small community, but there are some notable people in it, are starting to get nervous and starting to notice things, particularly after this weekend. When Amazon shut down Parler by cutting off its web hosting services, it did not take a fevered imagination to realize that they could also, if they wanted to, stop selling our books. They could ban Senator Hawley's book. They could ban all Regnery books or whatever books they want. Right now, they are a private company. That is their right, but it does show if Amazon won't sell your books, a publisher is in a pickle. We also have concerns across my company, like every company these days, depends on big tech services in all kinds of ways. And if they were to pull the plug on us, it would hurt.
Are you concerned? Have there been any indications that Amazon will not sell books that you're publishing?
No. Yeah, and I don't want to appear to be accusing them of anything. They have not. Amazon has policies that we occasionally run into. There are these Amazon ads, which is how book publishers promote their books on Amazon. So that if you search for The Tyranny of Big Tech by Josh Hawley, a number of other books will come up on the Amazon page, right? And that's not an accident. That's the result of advertising based on the search terms. And occasionally Amazon has not let us do Amazon ads for a book because it's on a controversial topic. Not Senator Hawley's book, but we run up against that. But they have never refused to carry our books.
I understand, as we all do, that Simon & Schuster says they're not going to publish Hawley's book, but they will still handle selling and shipping to international markets. For those of us not familiar with the publishing world and how it works, this presents, I think, interesting optics. Explain to us what's behind that.
Yeah, it's an interesting question. So a book publisher has to get its books printed, store them in a warehouse, and then distribute them to retailers and wholesalers all across the country or across the world, and also sell those books. Have a sales rep go in and pitch your line of books to the buyers at Barnes and Noble or wherever. The big five publishing houses, the big conglomerates in New York, all handle all of that themselves. But most smaller publishers, including Regnery, use a distributor, which is another company that warehouses and ships the books and so forth. So our ability to function depends entirely on having a distributor. We don't have our own warehouse. Simon & Schuster, like the other major publishing conglomerates, offers distribution services to other publishers, and they distribute for many, many publishers. And by coincidence, Regnery is a client of Simon & Schuster and has been for a couple of years. So it's just a coincidence, and we have no indication from Simon that they are going to give us any trouble about this book. To be fair to Simon & Schuster, their decision not to publish Senator Hawley's book is completely disconnected, not connected to their distribution business. I am sure, and the terms of our agreement are such, they don't go through our list of every book. So when they canceled that book, I doubt that it occurred to anybody. I don't know. I doubt that it occurred to anybody that it might end up with one of their distribution clients. And if someone had thought about that, I would think they would shrug their shoulders and think, well, there's not much we can do about that.
There are reports of an open letter signed by hundreds of editors, writers, and agents opposing the publication of a potential Trump memoir. Would you publish a President Trump memoir? The president has not come knocking at my door yet, so it's just theoretical. But if he did,
we would be open to it. Absolutely, yeah. Would I publish anything that Donald Trump decides to write? No, not necessarily. I wouldn't publish just anything that anybody decides to write. But I think, yeah, and I mean, there are questions, is that something that we could afford, whatever, but I wouldn't rule it out. And this group that published this letter or statement that you referred to, it's not an organization. One person, a fellow who writes books for teenagers, novels for teenagers, put this up on his blog and has collected 500 signatures at this point from people who call themselves publishing professionals. And a lot of them are writers, editors, people who work in the book business. They are saying that no one who participated, as they put it, in the Trump administration should be given a book contract about anything for any reason. And that's what I referred to in my op-ed in the Wall Street Journal when I said that this is blacklisting. And that is a more extreme case even than what happened with Senator Hawley's book. You can argue that Senator Hawley was canceled because he did something terrible in connection with the Capitol riot. But to say that anybody who held any position in this administration should not be permitted to express himself in a book if he has something worthy to say, that's a very dangerous place to go.
What is the review process that you go through professionally and personally when deciding which books to publish, in particular in regard to those who hold certain political views or even further concerns of hate speech?
I don't know how typical our process is, but we have an acquisitions committee which consists of people from the various parts of our business. So I'm on it. We have editors, we have our publicists, the sales department and marketers, and occasionally we'll bring in outsiders to get their point of view. And I would say we are rarely and probably never, I'm going to say I haven't seen a proposal that for a book that I think would qualify at all as hate speech. A lot of things get called hate speech now. Hate speech has come to mean something that I disagree with. So if that's your definition of hate speech, then we publish hate speech all the time. But by any meaningful definition of it, we don't, and we would not. We study the proposals pretty carefully. Most of them are not that controversial. Usually the question is this well done? Does it have something interesting to say? And is there anybody out there who will want to buy it?
Two final questions for you. First, I'm curious, have you ever published anyone or anything that you sensed regret?
Well,
put you on the spot a little bit there.
It happens all the time if the book doesn't sell. So in that sense, I and every other publisher always has lots of regrets. A book that I regret, though, because I think it was, I don't know, a disservice to society, or I'm ashamed of it, or something like that. No, I don't. I have been at Regnery for 8 years, and the company is 75 years old. So I can't speak for that entire period. But no, I mean, there are some books that I am prouder of than others. The decisions, I have been the publisher, which is the boss, the president, for a year. And even now, the decision is not really mine alone. It's a group decision. So sometimes I win, sometimes I lose. I have a lot of regrets of books that we didn't publish that I wish we had.
For instance?
Well, one that comes to mind is a book by Jason Riley, who's a columnist for the Wall Street Journal. This book came to us fairly early in my time at Regnery, so I don't know, probably 6, 7 years ago. He wrote a book called "Please Stop Helping Us." That was a sort of a Black conservatives critique of the welfare state, or the sort of the standard, the usual liberal ways of trying to help the Black community. And he thinks that it has, the effects have been detrimental. It hasn't worked. It's backfired. And we turned that book down, not for any ideological reasons, just the decision was made that there wasn't going to be that big an audience for it, that we wouldn't sell enough to make it worthwhile. If I had been king, I would have taken it. I wanted to take it. It went to another publisher and sold very well.
My final question for you, there is quite a bit of noise around the idea of a cancel culture. And I think those of us in the media, those of us in politics, people in the general public ought to be doing a lot of self-reflection right now in how we get to a place of unity, a word that we continue to hear over and over again. I'm wondering your role in the publishing universe, what concerns you have about your influence and those of your colleagues in the publishing world when it comes to the First Amendment, free speech, and also just the role that you play in the dialogue moving forward.
Yeah, I would say, the First Amendment applies to the government, right? The government cannot censor your speech. A private publishing house has the right to publish what it wants to. And in that respect, I have no quarrel with Simon & Schuster's deciding not to publish Senator Hawley's book. There may be some contractual questions, but that's a different matter. But In general, I would say the cancel culture is far more prevalent on the left than it is on the right. At least, that's my experience. The conservative publishing houses are, it's a struggle, right? It's always been a struggle. Publishing is a struggle. But the cancel culture, saying that so-and-so need not apply because of his political party or his philosophy, whatever, that's happening elsewhere. I see our role as a conservative publisher. I think we have a responsibility to publish very good books and that will speak for themselves. I think Senator Hawley's book is one of those. But we need to set the standard, and when people call it hate speech or whatever else, we will ignore that. So we're gonna publish intelligent, important books, and that will say what needs to be said. Also, I would love to publish people who are maybe not card-carrying Republicans, and we're working on a couple of projects like that. So we're open, and we hope others will be too.
All right.
There's room for a lot of books out there.
Thank you for that. And when those books come to print, give us a buzz. We'll have you back on.
All right. Thank you so much for having me.
Tom Spence, appreciate your time.
Mm-hmm.